morning. One of the greatest speakers on leadership today is a man named Steve Siebold. Recently, Barney and I had the opportunity to hear Mr. Siebold speak in Atlanta, and he talked about the three primary qualities of leadership as being courage, vision, and responsibility. As criminal justice majors, each and every one of you is going to be a leader, like it or not. Because you're going to have more power to influence the lives of the members of your community than any traditional leader ever will. Reverends, politicians, community activists, they may as well be on another planet when a child such as Barney Brown comes before you in the search for justice. Now today, you're going to hear how time and time again, this child of 13 came before police officers, jailers, attorneys, judges, and eventually wardens. And for 38 years, his plea for justice fell on deaf ears. You'll hear of men and women who lost their vision, men and women who once sat in chairs just like you, studying criminal justice, but could no longer see injustice, or those who could lacked the courage to try and stop it. A few, as Barney's going to tell you, had both courage and vision, but lacked the commitment to make it their personal responsibility to right this great wrong that they saw, or to stand up for a child who couldn't stand up for himself. It took 38 years for Barney's story to finally come before a man who had all three of these qualities, Judge Antonio Marion. But ironically, it took this man, a man who had fled the oppression of Castro's Cuba, to come here to our soil and remind us of the meaning of our own Constitution. And I ask, where do we lose our vision, our courage, and our commitment to the responsibilities of justice? Barney told me to keep this kind of light for you today. So I had to tell you, as we were preparing for today's speech, it's over beers actually, I was telling Barney a very personal story about how my own concept of responsibility changed about 8 months ago. And I learned two things drinking beer that day with Barney. The first is that after 4 decades of captivity, they never broke this man. He approaches life and freedom with the spirit of a Viking. And the second thing I learned was to always take my notes with me when I leave the table, because somehow that story found its way into my outline for today. The handwriting looks very familiar. But as I was telling Barney, my wife and I, we've been trying to have a child for about 14 years. Yeah. We've tried everything. We tried timing, taking the temperature to get the exact right moment, acupuncture, fertility clinics, even these god-awful smoothie concoctions that she used to make me drink every morning. And even pets. I think now we're up to 6 cats, 4 birds, and we live on a lake, so God knows how many ducks think my wife is their mother. But apparently, according to my wife, research has shown that people who have pets have a higher probability of having children. Now, no one seems to know why this is true, but personally, I think it has something to do with this creepy way that pets look at you when you're naked. I'm guessing we have a few pet owners here, so you know what I'm talking about. But, so I was telling Barney, one day this little mouse found his way into our home. And I probably don't need to tell you the carnage that resulted from these 6 cats chasing this little mouse and me chasing after these 6 cats. So after about 3 hours of this, my house is completely trashed. I'm dead tired. I miss my dinner. I'm hungry. I hear my wife call my name. I turn and I look up and I see her at the top of the stairs outside the bedroom. She's got that thermometer in her hand. So now I'm concentrating. I'm trying to make a baby. The cats are still chasing this mouse. I hear thuds, bangs, crashes, there's stuff falling over. And all of a sudden everything becomes dead quiet. I open my eyes almost afraid to see what's going to happen next. And there's that little mouse sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at me. I look around and I see all 6 of our cats, and they're staring at me too. And I don't understand it. Somehow cats and mice find naked people more fascinating than even each other. But to make a long story short, I caught that mouse. And about 4 weeks later, my entire concept of responsibility changed when my wife woke me up one morning and told me she was pregnant.
Wow. Wonderful.
But I'm bringing a child in just about 3 weeks now into a world whose motto seems to be, get tough on crime. And I can understand why those words would make some people feel safe, especially parents. I really do. But I have to ask myself, does getting tough on crime also mean turning a deaf ear to the innocent? Even to the point where if a prisoner today utters the word innocent, it rings as a cliche. We laugh it off. They all say that. Does getting tough on crime mean that we have to violate a person's civil rights, even to the point of double jeopardy, which is part of what Barney Brown will talk to you about today? And does getting tough on crime mean that we have to brush aside appeal after appeal, year after year, as we try to show how tough we are and contend with a system that's become so swollen with prisoners that we've had to focus our attention more on the efficiency of the process rather than due process? But I think that the most compelling question, at least in this case, is why did it take Judge Antonio Marion to come here to fix it? When Barney asked me to do his introduction for him today, I was deeply honored. I even wrote a very brief yet eloquent summation to help you all get a better understanding of this incredible man that you're about to meet. But I'm not going to read it. This last night, my wife and I, and our 6 cats, were flipping through channels on television. We caught a bit of an old Western. It's Clint Eastwood playing an assassin. That probably doesn't help narrow it down for any of those who know who Clint Eastwood is. But he was talking to a young boy, and he was trying to justify his career choice. So he says to this boy, he says, "Son, there's worse things that you can do in this life than kill a man. You can take away everything that he has and everything that he's ever going to have, and then you let him live." And when I heard that, I realized that there were no words that could better sum up what they tried to do to Barney Brown than this. We're running a little short on time, so in closing, I just want to say, if any of you are interested in hearing more about the Barney Brown story after you leave today, you can go to the website. It's called thelibertyproject.com, and you can hear more about his story, and you can also order a copy of his book, which is due out next year. But without any further delay, please help me welcome Mr. Barney Brown.